What's up, guys? It's Mike from Cygnus Studios here to give you a little bit of a basic beginner tutorial on how to make a game asset, a video game asset in 3ds Max. I've watched a lot of tutorials in my time, and I've realized that a lot of tutorials, they don't really explain things much. They just throw big words out there for the absolute beginners, and it could get a little bit complicated as far as learning goes. And I find that if you don't know specifically what something is, then it's harder to grasp it, harder to understand. So basically, what I want to do today is actually we're gonna model this box. Very simple, very basic in geometry. It's pretty much a cube. I'm not going to go over texturing yet. That'll be another video, but we're going to go step by step on the process, at least what I try to do here. So let's start here. So the basic controls of 3ds Max. Actually, let's start off like this. This will be your main load screen. You have your top view, your front view, your left view, and your standard perspective view. I tend not to work with these three like this. I actually I like the perspective view. So we're gonna go in here. You can just hover over and hold Alt W, and that'll give you this one screen here. You got your gyro up here. I'm gonna show you the shortcut actually. If you hold Alt and then hold the middle mouse button, the wheel, you'll be able to pan around and look around and stuff like that, as well as without holding Alt, you can hold the middle mouse button and it'll give you some type of pan, a pan view. Okay, so moving forward, let's grab this box here. Now this is your main create screen right here, the plus button right here, and it'll give you the option. Try not to stray away from this right here, the geometry, because this is what we're basically going to use. We don't want to get too far ahead. So yeah, grab the box, click it. You'll have all these dimensions and parameters right here, but we're just going to eyeball it right now. So left click and just drag for the base. This will be your base, and then just lift it up. All right, so that's as far as a basic box will go. I mean, you can make a rectangle out of it, but whatever. That's pretty much straightforward. But moving on, so you have your geometry set up here. Hold on, sorry about that. So you have your geometry set up here. As you can see in this reference picture, this is more or less an equal cube. So what we're going to want to do here is under the parameters are what the box is, pretty much. So you want to keep it a pretty even number to work with. So I'm going to do 100, 100, and that's it. So you have your box. All right. Now you want to be able to manipulate this geometry, and the best way to do it is right-click on the actual object in your frame, come down all the way to the bottom, and convert to an editable poly. Now, an editable poly allows you to use a bunch of these selections here that I'll go through to manipulate the object. Now, in this specific object, I am not going to be using vertices, the vertex. Vertexes are usually just the corner pieces of an object or a connecting object. It allows you to move the geometry on a singular level. I guess that's the best way to describe it. Now, we're not going to be using vertexes in this specific one, but as this course goes on, I will explain them a little bit better. Edge faces. Okay, so I'm actually going to come up here. This is how I like to work. This is my workflow. I'll turn on edge faces here. Now, what that does is it'll actually show you where there's edges on your geometry. Now the box is the geometry, okay? So you notice how if I hover over here, I have no idea why my Windows is doing that right now, but if you hover over here, okay, you see that your mouse is normal, but when you hover over an edge, you grab the edge. That's it allows you to manipulate the full edge. The vertex was just a corner piece, the edge are the edges, okay? We're going to skip border because it's a little bit advanced for this specific model. We're going to go over to polygon. Now, polygon is a fancy word for faces, okay? Basically, you could just grab anything that is a solid face within the means of the edges, okay? So what that means is that you could pretty much grab this entire box, okay, by the edges. Now, what we want to do is create an inset here for the boxes, right? So the main question is, how would you create an inset on this? Now, what we'll do is we'll grab this edge, sorry, this face, holding control, we'll hit this face, this face, this face, and this face, okay? I'm not going to do anything with the bottom because really in a video game you won't see the bottom unless it is a movable crate that you can kick or something like that. But we're gonna just basically do this right now. So you have all your polygons, your faces selected. I want you to come over here on the right side of the selections, okay? Now, I know you see a lot of this stuff and you're like, oh my god, like what the hell is this stuff? Guys, I'd say about 40% of this stuff is actually usable to a certain extent. If you start getting into more complex shapes, yeah, things will come into play. But for now, we're just going to stay between the edible polygons, okay? So inset is a fancy word of saying, actually there is no fancy word. It's actually a pretty logical term. I never usually click this button. I usually click this with the settings because it's more of a control. So what this is going to do is we'll click it. It'll bring up this panel. Now, the inset right now when I click it, it's taking everything as one face, but we don't want that, right? So right here on the drop menu, it's using the faces as a group. We actually want it by polygon. Now the polygon, remember, is just by face. So you click it, and see now we have a space here. Now we're gonna actually raise this number, okay, and notice how everything is moving in sync, okay. That's I think that's about right. We're gonna eyeball this though, okay. So now we've created a new face. You have your edges here that connect the face, so it's not just a floating polygon there. So you notice that everything is pretty decent right now. We're going to go ahead. Now, extrude is a fancy word. This is actually a fancy word of pushing in or pushing out. Now, again, I'm not going to click this button because it doesn't really give us much control, but I am going to click the settings. Okay? Now, as you can see, it gives us the option again, and you can move it in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Right now, we actually just want to bring it in just a bit. Okay? That seems about right. Actually, we'll pull it out a little bit more. Okay. So there's our basic box. Now we're just going to click this off. I'm going to show you guys again. Take off edge faces. That's F4 on your keyboard. It's a good toggle, actually. So you see that we have our inset, we have our extrude. I'm not going to go through bevels. Bevel is more of a, if we just click this here, a bevel pushes it out or in, like the extrude, but you can also manipulate the top polygon basically into any shape you want, but we're not going to do that right now. We're just going to keep it like this. Yeah, so it's looking pretty good. We'll talk about making this shape, this bar across, but for now we want to make the inside panels. Now this is usually done with a texture map, the panels, but we're actually going to model them to get you guys a feel of how it is actually high poly model. Okay, So we're gonna grab this edge here. We're gonna grab the edges, okay? What I want to do, what I like to do is grab this edge, the inside edge, okay? So that now we're using this back polygon, okay? Come here and grab the bottom edge, okay? So now we have both edges selected. We held, sorry, control. And we're gonna come down here again. I don't click this, I'm gonna click connect. Now what this is doing, it's creating an edge on the polygon. It's not necessarily an edge, but it gives us something to work with here. So we're going to click the setting button, and we want, that's not enough segments here, so we actually want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we want about 5. Usually when you're eyeballing something, you really want a different feel for your actual model. So what we're going to do here is we're going to eyeball it actually. We're going to crank up the segments. Okay, so that seems about right. Hmm, yeah. Okay, so we have our faces here. Now we're going to grab our polygons again. Holding control, we're going to grab these polygons by left clicking on them. Okay, now you're wondering how we could do this. It's inset. Inset is a beautiful tool. I love it. Okay, so click the settings. As you can see, we have broken geometry here. It doesn't make sense. Um, the reason why this is happening, the inset setting is remembering our dimensions here for this face inset. So we're actually going to change this. We're going to bring it down, and you can see it's starting to kind of unravel, whatever you'd like to call it. So I'm actually going to get a nice distance between these faces, okay? So you're going to go ahead, click yeah, click the check mark. Grab the extrude button. Now you see it extruded in, that's not what we want. We want panels. So we're going to push this out very slowly until you think that that is good enough for a panel. I think that's good. Again, this is just a rough push. Now you can see we have our edges, our lines there. I'm going to shut this off. Okay, so there it is. See? You have your wall panel. We're not going to cover texturing like I said in this one. So basically, that is just this main part here. This is the most basic way I can explain things, I believe. We'll worry about the cross panel now. Actually, not now, in the next video. But what I want you to do is just repeat. I mean, there is a simple way to do all of the edges, as I showed you, but it's good practice and best practice to repeat it on all the edges, just so you get a nice feel to the movements and what you want to do. Um, so yeah, so this is just the beginning of it. We will finish this and actually texture it, and I'll show you exactly how to texture it and why texturing is important. We are also going to be bringing this model into Unreal Engine. I'm going to show you how to set up a first-person character and how to import it and what we're going to import. So this is going to be it's going to be a good tutorial, step by step and as basic as I can make it. Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like it, if you want to keep watching, please subscribe. Even add a like if you like. But yeah, so this is just the first video, and I hope to see you guys back next time. Thanks.